So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me here. As mentioned, I'm Mike King. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Head of Investment for Eastern Europe and Central Asia. So I'm based in Istanbul, but I cover Georgia and Central Asian and Eastern European countries. I work with the embassy here. We have a team here like Nino and Nick, and we work very closely to support companies like yourselves. This isn't my first time to Georgia. I've been here lots of times for holidays, also for work as well, to meet some of the ministries and meet companies like yourselves. I'm very excited that tomorrow I'm going to go to my second live sports game here against Georgia, Macedonia. Last time I was here was Georgia against Scotland, the first time we had a tier 1 rugby nation come to Georgia. Unfortunately, Georgia lost, but tomorrow I'm sure Georgia are going to win. But yeah, I love Georgia because it's very similar to Wales, where I'm from. Lots of green hills. We love rugby. We love outdoors. We love rain. And so I do feel very much at home in Georgia. So I'm always delighted to come here. So hopefully, through today's session, lots of companies like yourselves, virtually online and also here in the room, will get in touch with me and my team. And then we can start conversations about how we can help you set up a branch or start working more closely with the UK. We've helped an awful lot of fintech companies set up in the UK, expand in the UK and grow both in the UK, but also internationally. Lots of companies come, set up an office in the UK and then put their sales team there so they can sell to the rest of Europe. So my speech today is talking to you about why the UK fintech ecosystem is at the heart of the globe and why it's the best place, in my opinion, to set up a fintech company, and how my team can support you do that. As mentioned, I do work for the government, but I also have two of my own startup companies. One of them failed, but I think failure is always good. You learn a lot from failing, and that's part of having an agile startup, is that you give it a go and you fail. The second one is still going, and I do need to make it a bit more digital. I do need to start doing more online classes with my students, and using online platforms. So I need to sort of listen to some of my own advice and be a bit more tech savvy with my company that's still running. So why is the UK such a great ecosystem? I think it's because it's all about collaboration in the UK. The UK is always open for business. We really support talent and we really support innovation. We've done that throughout our history. We've always been a small island, but always a powerful island. It's always encouraged innovative growth. And likewise, fintech is an area. So the UK, is where banking, is where insurance started. You've got London is the heart of one of the central financial hubs of the world. Fintech naturally is therefore also has a natural home in London, and that's where, along with the USA, is the sort of joint biggest place where you've got fintech companies working. Why is it the UK is so good at fintech? It's because the government works very closely with regulators and with industry. So when you speak to UK ministers, they tell you that we're all about open business, but they also act on it. So as the presentations that you heard this morning, they talked about how the regulatory system in the UK is world leading. We don't just say that we're open for business. We actually do it through our regulatory body. So we make it as easy as possible for fintechs to work. That's why we see companies like Revolut, which came from this region, doing so well. That's why we see Monzo in the UK. These fintech banks that put the UK as their headquarters because they know it's the best place to be if you want to grow your business. So in this region, we do a lot of work in Turkey, we do a lot of work in Georgia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and we want to help your companies expand in the region and also expand in the UK and in Europe. So please make sure you come and talk to me, you come and talk to the embassy about how we can support you. I'm going to talk you through a little bit about why the UK is, in my opinion, the best place to be if you want to be in fintech and you want to grow your business. So we do have over 2,275 companies working purely in fintech in the UK. They're employing around 90,000 people. It accounts for fintech accounts for about 11% of the global. The UK accounts for 11% of the global fintech industry, which is a huge amount. Revenues generated by fintech firms doubled from 2016 to 2021 to £12 billion. You've got investors putting more money into the UK fintech companies than any other European countries. Actually, if you take the top seven countries in the whole of Europe and you add them together, you've got the UK as number one. If you take numbers 2 to 6 and add together the amount of investment taken from countries number 2 to 6, so that's France, Germany, etc., all of those 6 countries don't add up to the same amount as the UK on its own. So if you want money, it needs to be in the UK if you're looking to get money for fintech. And as I know from my own experience of running 2 companies, you need money to get anywhere. So from crypto to payments to insurtech, the UK is the place that you want to be to expand your business. KPMG's latest report on fintech said that investment into fintech companies in the UK has increased from 5.2 billion about 3 years ago to a staggering $37.3 billion today. It's a huge amount of investment going on in the UK. And there's also a lot of grants, there's a lot of government incentives, which is why a lot of money is being pumped into fintech in the UK, from private, but also from business. So how are we doing this? Well, the UK is a center for finance, for innovation, for technology. We're working together, as I said, with regulators and with business to support this. And the government is really looking to through these incentives. So we do things like scale up visas for individuals like yourselves that want to come to the UK and want to open your business there or want to bring your ideas to the UK. We help you with visas. We also do a lot around helping you with the regulation to help you navigate through a regulatory scale box, which is sort of an online tool that helps you understand what the regulation is and how you can navigate. We try to make it as easy as possible. And I do think there's some similarities there between the UK and Georgia. I'm very impressed whenever I come to Georgia and see how digital savvy everything is, how your government is very digital savvy. You know, it is a very easy place to do business and set up a business, and so is the UK. So I think there's a lot of similarities. When you start looking at the UK, you'll realize that we also put technology at the heart of everything that we do. So, moving on to the top destinations for fintech funding. Can you? Sure. Okay, so as I said, last year the UK attracted about £12 billion of VC investment fintech. That's, as I said, that's more than the top 6 countries put together in Europe. An important factor for this success is our world-class regulatory bodies. In the way that we nurture competition, we nurture innovative, friendly business environment. We make sure that companies like yourselves find it very easy to set up in the UK. That's why we've got Starling Bank there, we've got Checkout there, we've got Generation Home Deals. That's why we've got Revolut, that's why we've got Monzo there. But we also want to see companies like yourselves. There are 60 fintech companies here in Georgia, and I want, for me, a really good outcome would be for at least 5 of those companies to start thinking about how we can work together and expand into the UK. So please do come and talk to me. We do help. You know, the Bank of Georgia is listed on the LSE. We do already have very good relations with the fintech sector and with financial professional services in Georgia. But what today is all about is trying to enhance that. And that's both ways as well. Finding new partners in the UK, because again, there's companies in the UK that you can sell your businesses and sell your work to. So the UK is combined of an awful lot of fintech sectors. And within that, you've got a lot of subsectors. So you've got UK Paytech being the largest segment, taking up about 24% of the industry revenue. But you've also got regulatory technologies. You've got InsurTech, you've got digital banks. We've got flourishing artificial intelligence. We've got automation and machine learning. We've got automated contracts. We've got big data. We've got analytics. I think one of the specialities of the UK is that we don't just look at fintech on its own, and we don't just look at financial professional services on its own. We try and look at big data and technology all together as a huge cluster. And we try to do a lot of innovative work around that. So we try to use big data and analytics to inform our decision making and some of the policies that we make, which is why a lot of fintechs find it exciting to be in the UK, because they have then access to this big data, which can inform decision making and essentially come down to innovative fintech solutions. We're very digitally savvy. In Europe, we're the #1 in terms of online payments, in terms of digitalization. And again, we're kind of the leader when it comes to pioneering ways forward. In terms of the opportunities, payment segment is the strongest fintech strand of the UK. Payments landscape is changing rapidly. The UK has over 2/3 of payments being made digitally, similar to what you've got in Georgia, but that's up from 40%, which was 2007. So increased by 50% in the last 5 years, partly due to COVID-19 pandemic, but also because it's in the nature of the UK to be quite digitally savvy. Predictions suggest that over 1/3 of all payments in 2028 will be made via contactless methods, which again offers big investment opportunities in digital commerce, in mobile POS payments, and more. Again, a lot of the systems and the processes that some of the companies here in Georgia are looking to sell. Digital banking is another growth area for fintech in the UK. There are big benefits for consumers and banks alike through this. Banks are able to reduce their operating costs by eliminating back office, by eliminating or closing down some of their physical branches, and having fewer or zero errors. Digital banking is obviously quite popular in the UK, where with almost 1/4 of British adults having opened an account with a digital bank. That's 12 million people. And 2/3 of banking customers say they plan to convert fully to digital banking in the future. Again, similar to what we're seeing in Georgia. Additionally, some digital-only banks, namely challenger banks, have gained serious traction, like Revolut, N26, Starling Bank, and Monzo. In November 2020, Starling Bank became the first digital bank to report profits, representing a landmark moment for the sector and a landmark opportunity. And we're going to see more of that. And I think we just need to make sure we're a part of it. And hopefully some of you companies are a part of this in the UK. InsurTech, enterprise tech, and wealth tech are other striving areas of fintech in the UK. London's widely regarded as the birthplace of insurance. And then, therefore, it's no wonder that the InsurTech sector has seen sustained and continued growth over recent years. The UK is also home to the largest formal InsurTech alliance, with InsurTech UK having a membership base of 90 InsurTech businesses and several partners from traditional insurance spaces and industries which serve the insurance market. Enterprise tech includes technologies and companies' infrastructure, and particularly widespread in the financial services. What we see now is that lots of organizations are moving towards cloud. We've seen sort of 70 to 90% of organizations all moving towards cloud, with continued growth expectations. Therefore, the proportion of businesses buying cloud infrastructure services and financial services and account appliances has grown from 6% to 18.7% in the last 4 years. So again, big opportunities for companies like yourselves. The use of artificial intelligence and big data, I think, shouldn't be underestimated. And this is an area for huge growth and opportunity, particularly with nimble small firms that are able to react quickly. And again, these are the Georgian firms that I'm seeing. And we've got examples of where we've helped companies like this, particularly in areas like wealth tech. Robo-advisors providing automated online portfolios, so investors can choose investment volumes depending on the scope and their private appetite for risk. Really revolutionary stuff. And this segment has now got £980 billion of assets under management and a 27% year-on-year global growth rate. So what about distributed ledger technology? This is commonly referred to as blockchain and has the potential to be radically disruptive with a myriad of applications in fintech. Many financial organizations are already incorporating blockchain technology into their operations. 90% of payment companies have started to use blockchain infrastructure already. And the UK is at the heart of this development and research. The UK took 6% of the world's blockchain investment technology in recent years, and that number is continuing to grow. Now let's look a little bit about where you might want to think about selling your business or setting up your business in the UK. So London is the financial capital of Europe, possibly the financial capital of the world, along with places like New York. And it's a fair statement to say that the capital of Europe fintech is most certainly in London. However, the UK fintech scene has got a lot more to offer than London. There are opportunities span across the region, and there are hubs across the region. So I think it's really important to remember to come and talk to our team before you start thinking about where to work in the UK, because we can give you bespoke market research. We can do some work for you, all free of charge, so that to help you understand where in the UK you might want to set up, where some of the incentives are, and where some of the grants are from government. Each region's got a slightly different niche, and therefore we can sort of talk you through and advise you through that. So just to give you a bit of a flavor, London is a top 3 fintech hub in the world, possibly the number 1 or number 2, with 2/3 of all UK fintechs being headquartered there. It's a superb hub and somewhere that you should probably think of as your first destination. However, depending on what your niche is, what your subsector of work, you might want to think about other parts. So, for example, the Pennines, where we've got Manchester and Leeds, which have big hubs, got over 135 fintech companies there, and has the highest amount of fintech companies outside of London, with 7% of scale-ups there nationally. They tend to focus on lending, payments, and RegTech, so regulation technology. Then you've got Scotland, always been very big on investment, with some big banks up there, like the NatWest Group. They focus, understandably, on financial services, a lot of the fintechs we see going up there, as well as wealth tech and payments. Then you've got places like Birmingham, which is slightly over to the west of the country, where they focus more on lending, payments, and banking. So come and talk to us, and we can do some bespoke research for you once we know your company a little bit more. So the UK, what I'm trying to say, has got some real innovative labs and some accelerator ecosystems within the UK. We've got some big public funding offers with 20 to 30 million pounds startup grants year on year. We have lots of grants you can apply for through accelerators, through incubators. I think what's really innovative as well is that we actually partner with commercial banks to do a lot of this. So this isn't always government led. Well, it might be government started, but it's not often commercially finished. And I think that's where the difference is between the UK ecosystem and somewhere like Georgia, and probably the rest of the world, which is why you heard this morning talks about how the UK really is innovative in its regulation style, because government regulation and commerce, business, all work together in harmony. We normally start with the idea, but we normally make it financially viable, so the companies actually deliver it in the end and end up giving money to startups like yourselves. Some of the major fintech incubators and accelerators are on this slide. I won't go through all of them, but we've got things like Level 39 in the UK, the world's most connected tech community with space on fintech. Then we've got Ignite, which is a Google partner accelerator. We've got Startup Bootcamp, which in London is home to fintech and insurtech accelerators. We've got several corporate accelerators, and we've got things like Barclays Accelerator, NatWest Entrepreneur Accelerator, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs, which we work in partnership with, and they actually deliver commercially viable products for us. Because again, the UK, when I say government, we try to make sure that we make government as small as possible and put as much back into the sort of commercially led side as we can. So what are you sat there thinking? Okay, I've just gone and talked a load about the UK and why it's brilliant, but I'm from Georgia. Why is this guy talking to me? What I'm trying to show you is how myself and my team, people like Nino, people like Nick, people like the embassy here, and people like the investment team in Turkey, which my investment team in Turkey, day in, day out, they help companies like yourselves with visas, with setting up bank accounts, with bespoke market research. We've got a huge team in London, which we rely on their resources as well. And all of that gives you end-to-end support. I'll move down here. So a bit more intimate. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. So market opportunities. Again, when I was setting up my company, I was thinking about where is it that I want it to be set up? What university should I be approaching? That's the sort of free research that we can give you, obviously, but in the fintech sector. Relationship building. Who are the right people to know? Where can you get mentor support? What councils can help you? Where can you get the grants that you need? Where in the UK to set up? As I said, there's lots of tech, there's lots of clusters, lots of different areas. Where can you find partners or expand your UK base? Where can you find customers to buy your products? What tax support is out there? What tax should you be paying? I mean, we do have the lowest tax rate in the G20, which is excellent. That's, again, one reason why companies come to the UK. But also, what other tax incentives can you take advantage of? Because there are lots of them. Visas. Fortunately, in Istanbul, we do the visas for Georgia. So I'm talking 100% when I say we will help support you with your visa application. If you're a company that's going to set up in the UK, then of course we're going to support you with your visa application, and we're going to support you in coming to the UK. We want brains like yourself. We want companies like yourself coming to the UK, and we can help walk through those steps. The same thing for opening a bank account. It's not as easy as opening a bank account in Georgia. I can't do it in a day, but I can do it in a week or so. It's really not that difficult, provided you know how to do it. Also, how do you recruit your skilled staff? Where do you get all your fantastic people? I would say that a lot of the fintechs and a lot of the financial professional services companies we help, a lot of them will keep their back office in their home country, but they might set up an office, their sales office or their headquarters in the UK. That allows them to sell in Europe and in the UK, but it means that their labor costs are quite low because they get to keep them in their native country. So again, we can talk about some models that might work well for you. And then accessing finance, probably the most important part. If you need money, I can't overestimate how you really should be looking at the UK, because as I said, you can take the 6 next best countries in Europe, and they won't add up to as much money as we have in the UK that we give out every year to companies like yourselves. Do you mind doing the next slide, please? So I'm gonna finish now. So why are we doing all this, and what's the cost? What's the catch? Why are we giving you all this free information and free advice? Well, the benefit for us is that you come to the UK and you become part of that 1,275 plus companies that are working in fintech. We want to be the leader of the world in fintech. That's why we spend a lot of time and a lot of money on our regulation system and on our system to support companies like yourselves. But we need more companies with new ideas, with innovative solutions coming to the UK. So that's why teams like us are paid by the government to be here to support you. You then come to the UK, you employ people in the UK, and that's where we get our benefit from. So in conclusion, I think that the global fintech hub of the world is in the UK, might be in the USA, but if it's not it's one of the two. We are hugely ambitious in the UK, and we want to support companies that are innovative like yourself. I think it's almost limitless fintech. I think it's going to expand and grow more and more as years go on, through AI, through smart contracts, revolutionizing the financial global industry on an unbelievable scale. I don't think anybody has quite realized. And I think if you want to be part of that, then you should be partnering with us in the UK. I think the second reason is because the UK is at the heart of this. We've got a government that wants to maximize opportunities. It wants to grow your business, and it wants to support that you have an easy and successful growth with your business. We're committed as government by working through our regulators and with our industry hand in hand to make it a good place to do business, making it, in my opinion, the best place in the world to start and expand your business. In terms of next steps, the only thing I would ask is that you talk to myself, you talk to my friend Alpesh, who's going to be giving the next talk, because he's got a really innovative global entrepreneur program, which again is supported through the government, but working with private businesses, private entrepreneurs like Alpesh to support you. So I think I've got time for a couple of questions before I pass you on to my esteemed colleague and friend Alpesh to talk about one of our programs in the UK.